The continued chase for Golden State Warriors forward Jonathan Kuminga, the saga continues as the Kings are still chasing Kuminga. JK, he's a former 7th overall pick in 2020. There's no question that Jonathan Kuminga can play ball. It's just that the inconsistent playing time in Golden State, where Steve Kerr, whether JK is playing or not playing, and when he does play, you can see the elite athleticism, his rim finishing ability, and the upside that's there for Kuminga. With the Kings' pursuit of Kuminga, is it worth it? Like, they have expressed serious interest to being on a Zoom call with Kuminga, Scott Perry, BJ Armstrong, and Doug Christie. Like, if you're on a Zoom call with JK, it is that serious. And we've seen a couple of rumored deals out there. You got Devin Carter, Dario Saric, and draft compensation, even though Golden State reportedly rejected that. And here recently, we've seen a rumored offer of Malik Monk, a protected first for Kuminga, even though Golden State really wants those protections on the first to be unprotected. And if I'm Sacramento, I'm not budging on that. I would keep it a protected first rounder. And importantly, they kind of rejected that too. And we're still in a holding phase of this Kuminga saga. And his leverage here in restricted free agency, he's declined a 2-year, $45 million offer from Golden State for that longer deal, and has signaled strong interest in joining Sacramento. Like Mark Spears of ESPN said that Kuminga wants to play in Sacramento, where they are offering him a starting role, most likely at that. The over-under for this Kings team, according to Las Vegas, is 37.5 wins. So my question, if you're watching this on YouTube, drop a comment down below. If you're watching on Spotify, is 37.5. Are you taking the over or the under on the win total for the Sacramento Kings for this upcoming season? Because you can make a strong case that this Kings team is kind of being underestimated going into the season. Because if you look on paper, this roster, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of our Kings-related podcast, wherever you may be. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about the continued chase for the Sacramento Kings for Jonathan Kuminga and the over-under for this upcoming season for the win total for the Sacramento Kings. But first, if you're watching this on our Kings-related YouTube channel, please give this video a like, a subscribe, leave a comment down below. And if you're listening on your preferred audio platform, give us a follow, leave a 5-star review and rating, especially on Apple and or Spotify. The continued chase for Golden State Warriors forward Jonathan Kuminga, the saga continues as the Kings are still chasing Kuminga. JK, he's a former 7th overall pick in 2020. There's no question that Jonathan Kuminga can play ball. It's just that the inconsistent playing time in Golden State, where Steve Kerr, whether JK is playing or not playing, and when he does play, you can see the elite athleticism, his rim finishing ability, and the upside that's there for Kuminga. But he does struggle with consistency, poor shooting, especially from the 3-point range. He's 33% 3-point shooter, not a great playmaker. He's a really good on-ball defender, but there are some defensive decision making can be a little concerning. And then in his time with Golden State under Steve Kerr, you've seen his role just remain limited. If he's playing one for a stretch or he's not playing at all, like he averaged roughly 24 minutes a game, scoring over 16 points a game in limited stretches, even though his performance dipped post injury this past season. And with all the roster changes, I think in that series against Minnesota, I think JK could have helped Golden State even without Steph Curry, who left. I believe that was game 2 of that playoff series against Minnesota. Golden State was not going to win that series, but I think Kuminga could have helped Golden State in that series against Minnesota, but rarely saw any playing time. With the Kings' pursuit of Kuminga, is it worth it? Like, they have expressed serious interest to being on a Zoom call with Kuminga, Scott Perry, BJ Armstrong, and Doug Christie. Like, if you're on a Zoom call with JK, it is that serious. And we've seen a couple of rumored deals out there. You got Devin Carter, Dario Saric, and draft compensation, even though Golden State reportedly rejected that. And here recently, we've seen a rumored offer of Malik Monk, a protected first for Kuminga, even though Golden State really wants those protections on the first to be unprotected. And if I'm Sacramento, I'm not budging on that. I would keep it a protected first rounder. And reportedly, they kind of rejected that too, and we're still in a holding phase of this Kuminga saga. And his leverage here in restricted free agency, he's declined a 2-year, $45 million offer from Golden State for that longer deal, and has signaled strong interest in joining Sacramento. Like Mark Spears of ESPN said that Kuminga wants to play in Sacramento, where they are offering him a starting role, most likely at that 4 position next to Keegan Murray. And if you look at that, if you just look at that starting lineup, if you have Schroeder, Keegan Murray at the 3, where I believe his natural fit will be much better. And then you have Kuminga at the 4, and then Sabonis. That could be nice. And then Kuminga's a switchable forward. He can play the 4, he can play the 3. And then you look at the potential upside if it's worth it for Sacramento. You got the youth that would drop the Kings' age down dramatically because Kuminga is only 22. That's younger than both your rookies that you took in the draft this past June in Clifford and Reno. Plus, Kuminga is younger than Keegan Murray because JK's 22 and he could blossom if Doug Christie and the Sacramento Kings can give him consistent minutes alongside Keegan and Domantas Sabonis. And Sacramento would offer more spacing, even though Kuminga's not a great 3-point shooter. But the opportunity is there than in Golden State because it is clear JK does not want to go back to Golden State. Golden State has made it clear they don't want to pay him. And to go back, and if you're JK, if you're going back to Golden State, that is like a toxic relationship. And if all the drama, that would probably ensure they're in Golden State. Because you got Sacramento's offering something Golden State's most likely not going to offer. And I don't think Kuminga fits with Steph Curry and that Golden State offense. And with a starting role and the opportunity to grow here in Sacramento, okay, that starting forward position with the freedom to develop into, I think Kuminga's got a better shot of being an all-star, to develop into an all-star, than Keegan Murray, which is what he is seeking, is the freedom to develop, the opportunity, and a starting role. But what are the risks for Sacramento if this sign and trade does happen sometime? You got the shooting, the 3-point shooting. It's not great. 33% from the 3-point range for Kuminga. I know there's some fans out there about the fit. Yes, he doesn't shoot well from beyond the hook and doesn't fit a movement of the heavy offense, and Kuminga's offensive game can disrupt the spacing and the ball flow in Sacramento's offense. And there has been at times the inconsistent production that we've seen from JK, because despite the flash, JK really hasn't shown these sustained growth through his 4 NBA seasons. And there have been people out there who have questioned if he can ever reach that all-star level. I believe he could, if given the opportunity to show what he can do. And I believe Sacramento could be that opportunity again at a starting role here in Sacramento next to Keegan Murray and Sabonis. So if you're the Sacramento Kings, Doug Christie, Scott Perry, is this Jonathan Kuminga chase worth it? If the Kings are aiming to build around young wings and value the tactical upside of Kuminga, it could be a high reward pickup, especially with the right development and spacing around him. And I do like the fit there next to Keegan Murray, because I think you can switch both those guys between the 3 and the 4. But for a Kings team seeking immediate shooting, structural, and the reliable fit, the risks, because we've seen the inefficiency of Kuminga and sometimes in the style mismatch, that may outweigh the potential reward in a Kuminga sign and trade. The cost could be significant. We've heard, 4 years, 3 years, but the Kings may need to sell an unprotected first round pick or multiple assets to really satisfy the Golden State Warriors. If it was me, I am not lifting those protections on your draft compensation. I would keep it as a protected first round though, and then maybe those could convey and a couple of second round picks down the line. So it's a high reward, at times some risk pickup for the Kings if this sign and trade deal does actually happen between Sacramento and Golden State. And to keep this in mind, Sacramento and Golden State haven't made a deal since 1991 between the two teams. The Kings got Mitch Richmond from Golden State back in the day. So it's not every day you see two teams 90 minutes apart in the same division make deals together. So it would be the first time in a while, if this happens, that the Kings and the Warriors do make a deal together, if they do come together. But targeting a player who fits your system really matters, because I believe Jonathan Kuminga could thrive in the Kings' young, freewheeling front court. And we talk about Doug Christie and what he's trying to implement, and Scott Perry, a defense-first kind of team. We know how he's a good on-ball defender, some decision-makings defensively. And if Kuminga is clearly motivated in this setting, but that does come with a serious risk if he can't round out his game. And that could be a steep asset cost for Sacramento. But if you want to think about the upside plus the development, it's the better long-term path than Jonathan Kuminga could be worth the investment that the Kings hopefully are willing to make with this deal. But if you need and an immediate, reliable production and shooting, it may be wiser for Sacramento to look elsewhere because we know you got the shooting with Zach LaVine, DeRozan, Malik Monk. If he's the Kings move on from the Kuminga sign and trade, you have the shooting. If you do move off and move on from the whole Kuminga chase, you could look elsewhere for that immediate, reliable production and shooting. But I think, in my opinion, is the Kuminga chase worth it? I believe it could be for Sacramento because I think he would fit that age range, Sacramento, and it could be a nice piece if you want to build around Kuminga, Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, Clifford, and Reynaud. That's five guys right there that you can go into and really start building this team around. And if we look at the Sacramento Kings roster right now, even without Jonathan Kuminga, the over-under for this Kings team, according to Las Vegas, is 37.5 wins. So my question, if you're watching this on YouTube, drop a comment down below. If you're watching on Spotify, is 37.5. Are you taking the over or the under on the win total for the Sacramento Kings for this upcoming season? Because you can make a strong case that this Kings team is kind of being underestimated going into the season. Because if you look on paper, this roster is deeper, more versatile than I think people realize. But it's being overshadowed by the flashier Western Conference moves that's happened this offseason. Domantas Sabonis, he is still one of the best playmaking bigs in the NBA. His floor raising skills are elite, and his chemistry with Keegan is a massive strength. I think you got Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. Even though I don't think it's a great fit with both those guys, those are two proven scorers who can close games for the Kings, something Sacramento has lacked in years, even without Fox on this team. Then you got your veteran depth and playoff experience. You got Schroeder, you got Saric, you got Drew Eubanks. And if you want to count Doug McDermott in there, so be it. But those are steady veterans who could help stabilize minutes for Sacramento that they have surely lacked since. And if you look at the defensive growth potential of the Kings, Keon Ellis, or as we like to call it, Ellis Island. Keon, who has emerged as a top perimeter stopper. And then you got Keegan Murray, which could give Doug Christie more lineup flexibility. And while Sabonis isn't an elite rim protector, you got Drew Eubanks, and you got rookie Maxime Reynaud, who could help cover those gaps situationally. I think Reynaud, once he gets stronger and grows into that body, I think Reynaud is going to be a better defensive player in a few years than most people think once he gets stronger and builds into that body. And Doug Christie sizing principles, the pace of the Kings offense. Because if this team can buy into mirror what we saw the Timberwolves in 2020 on balance, star power, and depth. And then you got some underrated rookies. Devin Carter, we know the shooting struggles. We've seen it this past season. We saw it in the Vegas Summer League. But Devin Carter is a really good defender. He's got the energy and the athleticism. He could be a sneaky, underrated player in his second year as a two-way player. Isaac Jones, who really flashed in the Vegas Summer League, if he's given minutes, especially if we reach January and quote-unquote the second half of the season, I think Isaac Jones could really fit in as an underrated player on this Kings team, given more minutes. And we know about the age of this team right now, one of the oldest. But if you do make the move for Jonathan Kuminga, you could drop your age significantly. But right now, the Kings are one of the oldest teams And health is always important because if healthy, I would take the over on that 37.5 if it was me, if this team's healthy. But if they aren't healthy, I could see them in the low 30s for wins this upcoming season in a really tough Western Conference because, again, Oklahoma City, Houston, the Nuggets, the Clippers, the Mavericks, the Lakers, Minnesota, San Antonio, the Portland Trailblazers are going to be better. I think the one team I think that may not be good, the Phoenix Suns. And I wouldn't sleep on the Utah Jazz this upcoming season. But I really think the Kings this year are kind of being underestimated going into this season because if healthy, the Kings could surprise people this year and maybe still be in that play-in mix even in this Western Conference this upcoming season. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you taking the over or the under of 37.5 wins for the Sacramento Kings this upcoming season? Let me know in the comments down below here on YouTube or on Spotify if you're taking the over or the under because the West is absolutely brutal. And if you want to look at the matchups for the Kings, like the best possible rotation right now, the starting lineup would be Schroeder, Levine, Keegan Murray, DeRozan, and Sabonis. That is your starting five for the Sacramento Kings. Like, that's your starting five for the Kings right now. And you want to look at the matchups versus some of the Western Conference contenders? Let's look at the Spurs. San Antonio. You got Fox and Wemby. And then against Oklahoma City, you got SGA and Chet Holmgren. Against the Nuggets, I do not like that matchup if you're the Kings because I think Jokic is a mismatch from hell for Sacramento. Minnesota, you got Edwards, you got Rudy Gobert. I think that could be a mismatch for Sacramento, even though they split the season series this past season. The Kings against the Lakers and the Warriors, you got two aging cores in LA and Golden State. And then you got Keon Ellis and Keegan Murray who can guard LeBron or Steph, and that could free up Levine and DeRozan to focus on offensively, even though the Lakers did beat the Kings this past season. They won the season series, but there's not a lot. And then if you want to look at the Kings against the Houston Rockets, the Rockets are better than Sacramento. Even though the Kings this past season, they swept Houston 4-0. I don't like that matchup for Sacramento this upcoming season against the Houston Rockets. So the Western Conference is absolutely brutal, folks. So 37.5 is the over-under for the Kings this season. Are you taking the over or the under? Let me know in the comments down below. And that will do it for this episode of our Kings-related podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment down below. If you're listening on your preferred audio platform, Apple, Spotify, or whatever, hit that follow button, rate 5 stars, leave a nice little review, be much appreciated, and we'll catch you next time on another edition of our Kings-related podcast. And as always, take care and go Kings.